It's a pleasure for me to host this Graziadio Executive Series with one of our own, Denise Taylor. I think she has a great story about her professional life, how she got to where she is. Denise, we'll go through all the details, but Denise has performed CIO roles in different verticals, all related to travel and entertainment for the most part, and sports. But her journey is just really interesting. I think for those who are joining, who want to get some lessons from her experience and her background, I think you've got 1 full hour, and probably 1 hour will not be enough. So just in a nutshell, Denise has started with a non-technical background in her career and ended as an executive for the technical functions in organizations, which is, I think, in itself a fascinating story. She also has a wonderful vision of technology based on experience she's had about where technology has taken us, where it's headed in terms of disruptions and digital transformations. So we're in for a lot of fun. We had a prior conversation with Denise, and we just had a blast. And again, I don't think we'll have enough time to go through everything we want to cover with you. But so welcome virtually back to Pepperdine. Denise, a dear alum, MBA alum. So let's just go ahead and get started. Feel free to put in messages, comments, or questions, and I will keep track. Denise will keep track, and if we see that there's something opportune to bring up in the moment, we will. Otherwise, we'll reserve it for a Q&A session towards the end of the hour. So let's go ahead and get started, Denise. So again, welcome back to campus. I have a set of triggering questions for us to get started. But as I mentioned, you didn't start with extensive computer skills in your career, and somehow you ended up as a CIO for major companies. So let's start there. Tell us about, you graduate from your undergrad, where that was, what did you study, and then how did you get your first job, and sort of taking a shift or a move in your career towards technology.
Great. Well, thank you, Nelson. I'm really excited to be here today. I am glad to be back with the Pepperdine community, and hopefully we can do it in person soon is what I'm looking for. So, but it's great to be here and excited to chat with you guys. So yeah, I have been in a global CIO CTO role for about 25 years, and primarily in sports and entertainment. And I don't have an engineering degree. I actually have an undergraduate in business administration and then an MBA from Pepperdine. And, today that's a little bit more standard you'd see, but 20 years ago, it was very, very different. That CIO function, the entire technical function, was really looked at through that engineering developer coder lens. And that's still a big part of today. I started my career, I was actually working and going to school at the same time. And I actually started my career working in a non-technical role as a project manager, but in a technology field. I was actually in the technology division as a project manager. And I never had everyone says, how did you get to CIO, CTO? Or, when did you realize you were going to do this? And I said, I'm still not sure I was going to do this. I was actually really studying business, and it became really clear to me, and it's why I've enjoyed my career, and I've been incredibly blessed for this entire journey that I've had, is technology is really the cornerstone of every business, every division, whether it is marketing, whether it's strategy, whether it's sales, whether it's human resources. Technology is really an enabler. And so for me, it's really grown to this huge passion of mine. I love being around the entire business. And in my role as CIO, CTO, to me, it's the closest thing to being a CEO. I really have to understand all of the different areas of what we're doing in a company to be able to really enable and drive those goals and drivers with technology. I'd say that it's today I really work pretty significantly on mentorship in getting everyone to understand that it is not just the software developers, the coders, the gamers. There's huge roles in technology for that, but there's massive roles in technology for folks that want to look at sales and marketing careers, for strategy careers, for analytical careers, right? And so to me, you can kind of get the best of both worlds in understanding that you can really be about the business and have this technology role behind you. So it's been incredible journey for me.
Great. All right. So let's start with your first job at Universal Music Group. And so tell us a little bit about what technology was doing to that industry at that point.
Yes.
What did you come in to do? And then how did you end up in a director role? Tell us about that first one.
Sure. So yes, so I spent my first 10 years of my career were spent in the NBC Universal family. And at that time, this was the Y2K time. And so, technology at the time was really around learning to have connecting people, giving folks the ability to have collaboration tools. It was also changing quite significantly, both on the studio movie side of the house and the music side of the house, how films and how music were being recorded and how they were being viewed. I'd say one of the big things, during that time was, if you remember the Napsters of the world, right? So consumers were first starting to download music. And as an industry, our response was to fight it in the courts, when in reality, every industry should really pay close attention to what the consumer is doing and how they want to consume your products and your services. Look where we are today. We download music, right? We stream music. And it took a major impact on that industry for a number of years to continue to fight in the courts. We were basically fighting the consumer, the same group that we're trying to get to buy and engage with our services, which really, again, logically didn't make a lot of sense. So the technology change during that time was really dramatic. And I'd also say the other big side on the 300,000 plus employees at NBC at the time, right? All across the world. And we needed to be able to connect people, right? Not just through email, but it was things at that time around call centers for customer service, the ability to have, a follow the sun service model, the ability to actually starting to talk about filming more digital content around the movies. It was the early stages of that back then. And it was interesting in my role, I came in again as a project manager, and it just allowed me to do everything from be on the music side of the house one day to be, up at our theme park another day, to then being in our production studios. They were all really enabled and driven through tech. But at that time, I don't think we ever looked at it it was more of just a function to be able to do the service. It wasn't necessarily an enabler of revenue or new ways of connecting it. It was still really early stages of it.
Great. So this is a yes or no question, because I want to see how to follow up. But was it back then? Well, to put it in context, so Denise has worked for companies that are going through fundamental industry disruptions like this. This would be a prime example where technology is just changing everything, right? How you produce content, how you distribute content, how you consume content. And so in the midst of an industry disruption like this, I remember in our preliminary conversation that you said the human element in a technical or liaison between the business and the technical role is very important. Right. And you talked about the human element, the interpersonal skills in tech. Is this where you started seeing that? Yes or no, is my question.
Yes. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
And of course, the follow-up is, so, okay, tell us how in this job, in this industry, you start seeing the importance of the human element in connecting technology with people in the organization, making them realize that things need to change, et cetera.
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest things I always say, and I would have said this 25 years ago, and I say it today, technology does not replace the human relationships. Actually, if you partner them together, it's such a much stronger, impactful result. So back then, one of the big things with the relationship parts of it was a lot of times people were trying to do customer service just by an automated script on, a call center. So let's say Universal Studios, the theme park, right? It was, you're Nelson, no matter who you are, if you're Nelson or you're the 85-year-old couple or you're the family of four, this is the script we are following. And this is how we're going to program it in the system and technology. And so I really spent a lot of time with the business owners saying, no, take me through when you have a guest come through the theme park, how do you engage with them at the theme park? How do our guest services people look at them, right? So I did this exercise where we took a guest services team that on site and paired them with our technical team and this call center team. And I really had them share the insights of the guest services team of how they knew people wanted to be engaged when they were in the park, when they were coming and visiting us, whether they were parking with us, right? So we applied some of these similar learnings and significantly adjusted how we applied the call center technology. And we significantly adjusted, not having set scripts that were just kind of more robotic, right? Very efficient, but again, you weren't really engaging the guests. And so no matter what, I've always said, I know we talk a lot about modern technologies, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and it's about the replacement of people. When they talk about this, and I say, absolutely not. To make those types of technologies work, you actually have to have a human understanding, and you really are using then the ability to redeploy those resources in a much more efficient fashion. I've always been hugely successful, and I would say it is because I really focus on the relationship piece of it, not just building technology for technology's sake, but taking the time to understand the business, being a part of the business, and then saying, okay, here's what types of technology, here's what types of digital engagement will enable some of the things that you're trying to achieve.
Wonderful. So, I think this is a great lesson for those who are planning to enter the workplace soon after their bachelor's or MBA, and you may end up in a technology-related role. Just don't forget this huge lesson about the importance of the human element. And even for those of you who may eventually shift your careers towards technology, because the reality is technology is permeating across functions, across industries more and more every day. So that's not an uncommon path for many.
Right.
May not be an uncommon path that you may find at some point in your careers.
Okay, Nelson, I used to say, even those early stages, I said, back then I had a 90% team that was engineers, 10% that were more administrative business side. And I said, it will quickly evolve to this being flipped, where this will be a 90-10, where I'll have 90% business folks in technology and 10% pure engineers. Today, lots of technology has moved to a services, software as a service, hardware as a service, cloud-based solutions. And so, even in the growth and development of technology folks, I always encourage them, continue to grow and learn in your expertise of platforms and new technologies. But along with that, keep your human skill sets going. That's communication, relationship building, because again, it changes significantly. If folks that would run infrastructure 15 years ago, building servers, if they hadn't learned a skill set of being able to actually give requirements to a third party that's managing all of this for you now, they would actually be out of roles, be out of jobs. That's the way technology has evolved, that a lot of it is managing third-party relationships and being able to translate those technology requirements to third parties.
All right, great. Well, let's move on a little bit. And by the way, there's a method to the madness here. We're going to go through her chronologically through her career, obviously, so you can see how it evolved, but also because there's some fundamental lessons about technology and based on her different kinds of exposure in different companies, different industries. So we're moving now to your move then to AEG. AEG is a company that, as you know, sort of owns venues and hosts live events, a lot of them sports. And so as a chief, I know you didn't become CIO right away. You came in as a director, then eventually became a CIO. So wonderful sort of progression of your career at AEG to become, a CIO. And, of course, you had to deal with AEG, but also its clients, the MLS, the NBA, the NHL, FIFA. So now you're venturing into kind of a venue holder that hosts events for, of course, a lot of sports franchises and others. So, I mean, tell us more. Yeah, how did that happen? What are your highlights of that part of your career, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, was almost close to 10 years at AEG.
Right. Yeah, I've again, blessed career. I love my time at NBC Universal, and then jumped over to this fantastic world of AEG, which was everything from sports venues and teams and festivals and Grammy Awards and Coachella Festival and Jazz Festival, right? And got to go to NBA championships. And it was interesting. At the time, just like within the music industry, we were always chasing the consumer. We were trying to catch up. There had been a disruption in the industry, and the companies were using technology to try to catch up with it instead of being in front of it. One of the big things when I joined AEG, and this was probably in 2005, 2006, the rapid advancement of the home experience was coming along. So you were getting these fantastic sound systems and 4K TVs, and you literally had it's very rich content that's delivered on most broadcasts, whether it's an NFL game or an NBA game. And you could see over the seasons that there was a drop off in the attendance at the games, right? It was also a shortened period of time that fans were coming in and staying with us. So it was really this heavy focus on the fan guest experience and using technology to, one, get people out of their homes, get them to stay with us longer, extend the experience. Everything from, you would generally in the years prior, you'd build a new venue, and it would be all about the physical infrastructure. It wasn't necessarily about the ability to have a fully engaged, connected venue, the ability to deliver content to the fan coming to a Laker game before they arrive, during the event, after the event, to offer some exclusivity to them, that fully connected journey, right? And so it was a number of years where we were really trying to chase, again, this disruption in the industry, and the home experience had become so amazing. We were now competing against it, right? Well, we should have known this. We had seen the progression of technology, the state-of-the-art TVs and sound systems and such, right? And this was also the time where you were starting to get, you were still getting kind of, when you went to a venue, that very plain food and beverage. Here was your hot dog and Coke. And there was kind of no variety. And, in most events today, a big thing is having variety of choice around food and around additional entertainment than just the main event. And so again, it was a significant focus on how to capture that audience back. And it was amazing. It was great, actually, really revamping how it was looked at. So it was not just the 4 hours that an event was going on. It was trying to create an understanding of the consumer where you were really engaged throughout the year. So you could be a Lakers fan, but you also were attending a Bon Jovi concert, right? And we knew enough about you to deliver content digitally to you, deliver rewards to you, discounts to you, maybe some exclusive screenings. Huge focus for 10 or so years as it progressed over time. And again, goes back to the human connection. Building technology without having it associated to what the consumers, the fans, your tenants want is the wrong way to approach it. You have to be living and breathing in the human element of being a consumer, being a fan, why would I go and, set up my retail shop in the O2 in London instead of going to, another venue that's next door, right? So you had to put those thoughts and hat on to really build out the most appropriate technology to make it suitable for all.
Great. So on the progression, let me jump into a little bit of some of the foundations of how to manage technology in organizations strategically. So I have lots of discussions with my students, all the way from the MBA to the executive MBA to the doctoral program about the kind of impact that technology has that has strategic implications. And we talk about, there's like full-on head-on disruptions like what you saw with Napster and in music and the technology just hits you head on, and you have to confront it. This seems to be with AEG kind of a side effect as AEG as a venue holder is competing with home entertainment. So home entertainment is disruptive. Lots of great advances there, motivating and incentivizing consumers to stay at home.
Right.
So yeah, you're like you're hit on it. You're hit on by disruption, but it kind of sideways. Also, in terms of addressing the issue, you're not necessarily fully changing the product, right? It's still a stadium,
right?
It's still a venue, and you're just kind of enhancing the service and the experience.
Right.
So thoughts on that, and how do you use your experience on both ends to benefit your career?
No, absolutely. So I would definitely say, for my AEG time, it wasn't changing the core product. It was actually adding additional products around it. So say, for example, you're going to go to a Clipper game in what's now crypto.com, but what was Staples Center, right? So before, you'd go in and you'd have your standard food and beverage, no matter where you're sat in the venue, you'd have your standard merchandise. There was no ancillary events. You'd go into a suite and there'd be no other TVs. Usually, if you're a sporting fan, you like to see scores of other games. You like to see highlights of other games. You want to see other content around, usually it's a Sunday night game. There's probably 5 other games going on. And it's very important, especially during playoff season, that you're able to see highlights of other things, right? So you started to build in more digital screens and more connectivity. We also started to really think about connecting the fans together. So sport and entertainment is driven by the passion of humans. That's around the globe. That's not just in the US. Well, why not take advantage of gamification while you're in the arena, while you're in the actual event? Why not look at, hey, let's do some trivia. Let's do something where we have our mascot, or something that we do with our digital media screens where we're having a trivia, or we're having a race, right? A virtual race, or we're doing a throwback song and everybody gets up and sings to it, right? And there's different people highlighted on camera, or we're suddenly tweeting out the best tweets around that virtual song that we're doing. And so it became making it much more of the Clippers and the Lakers are still that rich product, but now you're adding all these ancillary connection points, all of these ways. Again, the consumer now doesn't just want to be watching the game in front of them. They want to have mobile connectivity. They want to see multiple games, multiple events. They want to be engaged socially. They want to be able to share their moments. So big efforts around marketing are allowing all of these fans and guests in the stadium or arena to be able to reach social media channels, right? That right there is inherent in the marketing world. So it was not just it wasn't the transformation of the actual main product. It was really the shift in adding significant ancillary products to that mix to attract fans and guests to come out and also to stay longer with us, right? So longer dwell times. Let's encourage them to go across the street to LA Live and enjoy a restaurant or enjoy some shopping, or here's a coupon to buy some merchandising at our retail stores. You don't have to buy it in the retail store physically. Here's a discount for our online version of it. Lots of efforts around that.
Great. So let me, I'm going to jump to a different but important related topic, and then we'll move on to talk about your experience at Westfield Malls and Legends. So along the way, you went from being starting as a project manager all the way to CIO of a major entertainment organization. So I mean, that's an amazing accomplishment for a woman with no initial technical skills, even more impressive in my mind. And so I'd love to share some of that, the struggles or trials, tribulations, the successes that you went through on that note. And then, if you can address Kurhan's question on how you used that experience you went through and how you use it now to emphasize diversity and inclusion in your jobs.
Absolutely, Nelson. So I would say in my early years, I probably would say I really wasn't aware of maybe some of the challenges I faced. I was lucky enough and blessed enough that, I was my 21 years old when I started at NBC, and I actually had two gentlemen who were on their second career. They had already retired from Pacific Bell and were the leads of technology at NBC. And they just took me under their wing and taught me the ropes. And so, it was an amazing, just kind of journey. And again, it was significantly a male dominated industry, which it still is today. It's getting a little bit better in that. But I remember throughout the years, really watching more and more every time I would walk into a room, whether it was technology or some of the things around when you get to Westfield and AEG, we did a lot of construction. So a lot of times I'd be in with construction and developers. And again, it did lack significant amounts of diversity. And I'd say some of the challenges were generally, when I would join the room and it's a large scale meeting and we're kicking off a new development project of a new arena or a new stadium or a new entertainment district, I generally I'd have to prove myself. And, over time, I became pretty well respected. And so the messaging was always changed. But I remember the first couple of years, and it was always hard to get past that first kind of meeting because it was like starting over. It was like Groundhog Day, even though I had done 5, 6, 7, 8 venues around the globe. I'm very thankful that I had advocates for me that, long before I'd even joined the room at a certain point would have already laid out how knowledgeable and how much expertise, and we're going to defer to Denise on this, and that. But I do realize it does take, it took a strong personality. It took someone who also knew how to build relationships. So again, I would say the benefit of what I encountered was really had some great mentors, really had some.
It looks like we lost Denise. Well, let me take advantage to summarize while she joins back what we've covered. I mean, of course, there's sort of a professional career story here that's really fascinating, right? How a woman can be successful in a male-dominated function. And she was starting to tell us sort of some of the secrets to success. And so hopefully she'll join us soon to continue that part of the conversation. But, I would say like what she shared so far about the importance of the human element, build connections, find mentors, find supporters. I think it's critical, whether, no matter who you are and what situation you're in the organization. Okay, it looks like she's joining back. There she is.
And that's the life of a technologist. Your computer just literally, I'm on another device, so apologies for the different angle, but computer has just completely gone into reboot black screen mode. So no idea what happened there.
There you go. Well, you fixed it fast. So there you have it. So I was just trying to summarize while you joined back, reflecting on what you've told us so far about how you've gotten from point A to point B and becoming the CIO of a major organization. And so, please continue to tell us your what you see as the factors that led to that
Yes.
Great success, but also if you can tie it then to your lessons, professional lessons about technology in business.
Absolutely.
How you've used the advantage of you being able to go through that progression in an incredible era of technology change for the benefit of your career too.
No, absolutely. Like I said, I have had, a significant amount of both male and female, executives that have taken me under their wing. And, I will say my Pepperdine degree also proved to be very, very useful. I was at NBC at the time. And I remember, I know, but I didn't really know anybody knew I was actually going to school and working. And I remember getting my degree, and probably a few weeks later, I got a call from the top executive at NBC and just saying how incredibly proud they were. A big promotion was put in for me. It was really, I had no intention that was what it was for. But that's how my life and my career began like this. And it's been incredibly, I'd say, progressed that way. Again, you hit the hurdles. You're definitely I've hit some roadblocks before, whether it be, I remember we were doing business as AEG in China. And at the time, it would have been very challenging for a female to come into a new development of a new arena and lay out how we were all going to operate. And so we made a conscientious decision that we were going to send a male instead of myself, and that I would just work behind the scenes. And at the time, it was what would have been accepted at that time. And so I remember that it was definitely a distinctive moment in my life that said, I will always work to try to open up so that there's equity to opportunities for all. And I firmly believe one of the reasons why I'm in technology is that it can be an enabler and a game changer with everyone. It can be for underprivileged, it can be reach all different diversity, it can read all classification of persons. I just believe today, even technology has a long ways to go before it's truthfully treated as a tool that can help reach some of those that are underprivileged, right? I think when we talk about diversity, I think we forget that sometimes there are plenty of elementary and high school kids out there today that don't necessarily have internet access at home or a laptop to work from, right? So those are a lot of the initiatives that I feel really need attention, because that's how you get more of a diverse workforce going forward, is reaching communities, reaching people that really aren't even aware or have the opportunity to come into these fields. So I spend a lot of time there. I've also spent a lot of time with the people management and human resources team on really changing up how we recruit, the types of questions we ask people, how we engage with people. We all live in a world where it's been previously, you go and you refer people that you worked with before or people that you know, right? And even from a network from college, I understand that. But we also have to understand now that will basically, you're going to kind of go and recruit similar type of skills, personalities, and people. What I do think technology has done, and I've watched this, is because we now connect and generationally connect digitally, the profiles and the looks and the diversity is so much wider. And it gives us such an amazing opportunity to truthfully be so much more impactful in these areas of diversity and inclusion. The pandemic proved that in the fact that suddenly we were reaching out on so many different digital social channels. You suddenly now your banker doesn't need to be up the street. They could be in another country. Your friends could live, on the other end of, UK, and you're still able to connect with them on a daily basis, be a part of each other's lives. Think of how that opens it up in regards to the opportunities that we can create. So that's been a big part of the development of my career as well, is just the ability to make these connections around the globe, and really use technology and that human connection together to drive it forward.
Great. All right, we have time for a couple more questions, and then we'll open up for Q&A from the audience, or have like more of a Q&A session. So the first one is, let's now go back to your career progression. You go from AEG as the CIO to a mall conglomerate. For those of you who are not familiar with this, Unibail Rodamco Westfield. So of course, probably the one that a lot of people know about is the Westfield malls. So tell us about that change, and what you went through at Westfield regarding your career, and how technology again was transforming another industry.
Absolutely. So yes, I made the jump from AEG to Westfield as my son would say, I was jumping from the Lakers game and Grammy Awards to the dying mall. And that was a big sales pitch I had to give to him as to why I was making the jump. So in 2015, Westfield was the commercial real estate shopping centers around the globe, but we were being hit by what we called the Amazon effect. So it was become pretty widespread that foot traffic and people coming out to malls that were all retail based was really falling off. So Westfield had come and recruited me. And a big part around it was because of how the focus had been around connecting technology and people together around a fan experience. And so they were in this disruptive time where they had seen the fall off of foot traffic. They'd seen the fall off of the leasing levels that they had previously seen. And the whole landscape of a mall had changed. It really was supposed to be much more now of a mixed use property with entertainment, retail, restaurants, gyms, lifestyle, but connected, very connected. So it was a massive shift. They used to be, think of it as landlord and tenant and collecting a rent check to, hey, we're going to create a joint consumer experience here. We're going to work with each of our retailers and try to understand what's going to attract foot traffic out, what's going to create a great experience for Nelson as a consumer coming in. He's going to want to go see a show. He's going to want to go have a nice meal. And you know what? He may stop at Bloomingdale's, right? And so it was a very aggressive, it was a $10 billion pipeline of development, of physical development of the shopping centers around the globe, but it included now really creating digital connectivity throughout. So things like smart parking, so people would understand, you know, open parking places, you could reserve parking spaces, wayfinding throughout the mall, because, you know, biggest complaints from consumers were couldn't find anything and couldn't find any parking, right? Offering things like a loyalty program. People said, who's going to ever join a loyalty program for a mall? I said, well, you're not going to join it for a mall. You're going to join it for the experience. You're going to join it because you can get a discount on parking. You're able to see exclusive offers that are given to you with multiple different retailers participating. You're able to see exclusive events like a John Legend concert or a Kylie Jenner runway show, right? So it was thinking about it differently. And again, it was tying together, you know, that Westfield until that year had never thought that their primary customer was the consumer. To them, their primary customer had always been the tenants, the retailers. And so it was a massive shift around, we have to understand who our consumers are, who's coming to our mall, what are they doing here? Are they going to a Gelson's or are they going to a show? Because you shouldn't deliver the same content to that person. They're two distinct different personalities, two different personas coming through. Major shift, definitely a rough, I give Westfield a tremendous amount of credit to be willing to say, we have to completely flip our business model and focus on making this tech enabled and digitally connected and still keep it a great physical asset, while at a time where their industry was seeing a huge drop off in as far as the consumers, says a lot. And they invested and it made a massive difference. I think most people in LA would know Westfield Century City. It has been a case study on numerous technology platforms, a Cisco technology case study, quite a few others around how it really reshaped what a commercial real estate shopping center would look like.
Great. Okay. So wonderful. Now let's end with the point what I think I'm going to call the punchline, which is November 2019. You know, place yourself at that period in time and what happened soon after. But in November 2019, you then become president of Global Technology Solutions at Legends. So tell us a little bit about what Legends does, first of all, and then how you handled the challenges at this new company, and then of course what happened a few months later when COVID hit, and you know,
absolutely,
just disrupted the whole world, and gives you a little bit PTSD just to think about that period in time. But you know, let's see what you have to say there.
Sure. So Legends is actually it's an agency within sports and entertainment. So it literally is coming full circle back to almost being AEG, except a service agency. So it's owned by the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Yankees, and it was started in 2007 as a food and beverage solution. It had evolved over the years to being a complete end-to-end event hospitality solution. So global planning, ticket sales, and attractions business, One World Observatory, the Shard in London, sales, and merchandising, a merchandising division. So all based around hospitality for events, large scale events. And, you know, in 2019, I met up with the CEO, who's a former colleague and friend of mine from AEG. And I was talking about, hey, you know, connecting how much, you know, technology is the cornerstone of what everyone's doing and how to connect everything digitally. And I was going to start my own business. And long story short is we had lunch and he said, you need to come do this for us. It is needed across all of our divisions every day, whether we're talking, you know, food and beverage, whether we're talking our merchandising and retail, it's all around the technology and how do we connect a consumer fan experience so it's not so disjointed and so that we stay connected with them beyond just the event and really create this hospitality end to end. So joined in the January 2020, launched Legends GTS. Of course, March hits, and it was an interesting time. So hospitality world obviously still hasn't recovered, long ways to go. What you see on Sundays in the NFL is unique compared to many areas of the events world today, which obviously due to lack of international travel and large scale events, still really challenged. But what it did, it was another massive disruption. It pulled forward what would have been a 5-year plan as far as digital transformation. It pulled it forward to about 12, 18 months. So initiatives like, you could have never gone into an arena or stadium before and had them be cashless. If you go into AT&T Stadium today, it's completely cashless. Everything is done via mobile or via a card. A fully converged mobile ticket. So, everything is integrated into your ticket. So your access, your parking, the ability to order food, right? It became the access card as far as, were you green, amber, or red as far as your health status to enter a venue. A number of solutions to be able to bring people back to events and back to sports, right? To prove that we could pull off an event safely. We had to focus significantly on still staying connected with our fans for the year where we couldn't have anybody come to an event. So not just having them just have a broadcast on TV was not going to be enough. We needed to deliver unique digital content to them. So we created literally virtual VIP digital lounges. So in there, if you are a season ticket holder to one of our events, you would have access to unique camera angles of the coaches, unique content from the players. We'd ship you specialty merchandise, right? It was all of these different ways to still stay connected in a world where we were based on physically always getting together. It was a completely physical industry until the pandemic hit. And now it'll be very much a hybrid world going forward. We started hosting the virtual events. We would do virtual conferences, virtual art shows, virtual observatories.
Wow.
Yes, it was a big shift.
You talk about it like this neat story, but I can imagine the hassles and the struggles to figure out what to do, given all the uncertainty.
Right.
Which by the way, I think is testimony to your human side and communication skills, because you make it sound like, oh, this happened, but
it was tough. It still is tough. Yeah. No doubt. No, and there was nothing simple about it. I think it really, it tested our abilities to actually connect people and use the collaboration tools that we've all been talking about for years. And that proved pretty successful. It proved the enablement and having flexibility with the employees. You didn't need to always be in a physical location together to be effective and productive. Was it challenging? Oh my goodness, yes. We were built on a relationship with a lot of our clients. It was always going to an event, a physical game, having a meal, watching it together, and that's how we did business. So the hardest part of the transformation as well was trying to keep the clients and our business development active when we weren't physically together. So lots of hurdles and the uncertainty. An interesting part, which I'll share, is it took us longer to accept that we were going to be a little bit longer haul than 3 months in this pandemic. And I think it's the sports kind of like mentality of like, no, we're going to be back in the game. We're going to be back in there to win. It took us 3 months to finally recognize going, okay, we probably should cancel the event that's 6 months out. None of us were prepared to have those conversations. And so it was definitely tough. But technology definitely enabled us to stay connected, to start planning, to start figuring out how to do things virtually, to mobilize people. Even though we were mobilizing in our homes separately, we would do whiteboarding sessions and virtual learning sessions. We would do training sessions, right? And just then being empathetic to our employees and to our guests too. There was such a there's a family there when you come to, events, and you become, it's usually your same usher or your same, food and beverage server that comes and knows most of the people, right? We started to connect some of the fans with some of our workers just as a human cause to try to get people to enjoy seeing each other.
Great. All right, let's jump to Q&A now. I have a couple of questions, one from Julie. Hi, Julie. Good to read about you. So I'm just going to paraphrase. It says, Denise, thanks for being here today. It's good to hear you speak about wanting underprivileged communities to get involved with technology and how it can create opportunities. What are your thoughts on AI creating massive wealth inequality, and what solutions are available out there?
So I would say it's a great question. So artificial intelligence, I think, has the opportunity. I can look at it one way: is the more the separation between the have and the have-nots, or the ability to actually create new opportunities for folks. So for me, I look at it as the opportunities for folks. So again, I think that when you look at artificial intelligence and some of the new roles that come out of that, you're still going to need to understand. You have to have knowledge of what you want to have delivered with the artificial intelligence. You have to be able to then look at what comes out of the solutions you put in place. So again, I think it can reach new audiences with it too. Again, it has to be, though, widespread awareness that, this shouldn't just be programs that come out of highly respectable, distinct colleges around the globe. This has to be started to think about this all the way down at the elementary and high school levels, and starting to expose all different classes of people, all different diversities of people to these types of initiatives. And that makes a big difference. And so I think foundationally, our education system has to go through some significant changes to be able to support this. I do think that's where I do spend a lot of my time, is around the education system and a little bit of reform there. Even how we're teaching, what subjects we're teaching, the access to certain things, and where funding is being directed. Because I do think it is a critical part of how we proceed forward, or we will see the divide get bigger, and that's the last thing we want to do.
Great. I'm gonna use this moment on a plug. I just Julie wrote an article on the topic on the risks of AI as a tool, just like any technological tool. It is there, as Denise mentions, to enable us to do things better. It's not the end. It's not the end all. It shouldn't be necessarily the end decider for us. And so, I see there's a lot of former students of mine here. I just wanted to share this. I've been wanting to share this with all of them. So here you go. It's an interesting sort of complement to your angle about how to provide these technologies and access to more than just those who have immediate access because of where they are at.
Right.
Okay, so another question. This one's related to your Legends solutions. So how do they compare to Opera by Oracle? If you have had an exposure to it, it's coming from Amelia, who used to work in the Lowe's hotels, and just wants to get a sense of your understanding of Legend solutions compared to the competition, etc.
I would say the Legend solutions are a little bit more startup generated, so probably not as big as the Oracle solution Opera that's out there. Fundamentally, I think this speaks to the advancement of technology. So years ago, all of the big systems, the SAPs, the Salesforces, the Oracles, were so kind of stringent, rigid, and it was always the big companies that could afford them. Two things: they've advanced technology pretty significantly to be much more flexible and much more different tiers of cost models for big and small companies equivalently. I also think most technologies, there's very few that need to be built from scratch. There's so much advancement in most off-the-shelf technologies that with a slight customization of it, you can pretty much achieve anything. I think that's a huge advantage for technology to continue to evolve like this. It makes it much more widely spread and available to all. And it also it allows for more flexibility on pricing and gives you greater reach on the functionality of it. So I'd say Legends compares, but again, a lot more startup technologies I say in Legends than what I'd say where more of the Oracle type of solutions were in my Westfield world.
Great. Very good. Okay, question from Trevor. What impact, Amelia says thank you. Trevor asks, what impact do you see NFTs and the metaverse having on consumer interaction outside of physical venues? Oh, Okay, so now just when we thought we had all the transformations done, you know, the convergence of all technologies, now we've got blockchain, NFTs, metaverse. What's your vision for the future?
Oh, I think it's exciting. I see it happening, you know, from an NFT perspective. So even in Legends with our merchandising group, we're looking at NFTs to basically turn some of that merchandise into an NFT. We have created an exclusive NFT that gives you access to unique Dallas Cowboys memorabilia. It gives you access to Dallas Cowboys trainers, right? But you have to have, you created kind of a loyalty program around it, right? I think there's just this amazing, so you go from a purely physical venue, now you're going to create in this metaverse this entire digital venue. You're still going to slice it and dice it up in this creative fashion. It's still digital real estate, right? And so I see a huge opportunity. Ticketing, there's another massive opportunity with NFTs. We're seeing it, even working in partnership with Ticketmaster. I mean, these aren't, you know, everyone kind of says NFTs, all of this is, you know, could be a fly by night thing. Very rarely do you see JP Morgan make a huge investment and buy land in the metaverse, or do you see Ticketmaster put a massive investment in to building out NFTs for their ticketing space, or a Fanatics, which is, if you look at what that company does, they are all built around, it was a merchandising company, and now it's around NFTs, crypto, and merchandising. So I just can see this growing and advancing significantly and hitting multiple industries.
Wonderful. So in terms of, just a quick follow up on that, on what you said about, for example, Ticketmaster, would NFTs be an ancillary product to, as they sell tickets, they also sell NFTs? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I do. Absolutely. You can also turn the ticket into an NFT. So you can buy an NFT to have digital access to an event, and then you're getting all of this unique digital content that no one else is able to see.
Wonderful. Wow.
Yes. Coachella just launched a huge NFT around their Coachella festival for this year, and it's very similar.
Great. Great. Okay, so we have a few minutes. I want to divide it into, it's 5 minutes that we have left. So let me just ask you something about the metaverse real quick. How do you see the metaverse and blockchain coming together? I was talking to a colleague here at Pepperdine, who she's an expert in blockchain. She was telling me the metaverse and the blockchain, they really are going to go together in the evolution of technology, well, especially in areas like entertainment. But do you have any thoughts on that?
I definitely think that the democratization of what blockchain allows to do, I do see them coming together pretty significantly. I see a lot more that blockchain is going to enable, not just with the metaverse, but overall. I think that the barriers are the, let's say the parameters, I guess, that have traditionally existed in our platforms, we're not going to have that anymore. We're absolutely going to see that start to really fade away. And I do think that they will meld together. I think it will take a bit of time. I still think there's a lot, everything takes a bit of time. There's your early adopters, and there's the folks that are the quick followers, right? I'm seeing more and more quick followers. If we want to talk, let's take, for example, we're seeing more and more. I've had just in the last year alone, I've had 3, software developers in good careers working solidly, and they've left the space because they've started their own NFT business. Wow. And been able to then tie it into working with the metaverse and crypto, right? So to me, it's suddenly creating a lot of new opportunities for folks, a lot of new job opportunities, and a lot to more work independently rather than working for a corporation.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. All right. Last question. I mean, as you all can see, Denise's background experience and her capabilities just show. I mean, it's just so great privilege to have you come talk to all of us. And I'd like to see if you could give the students and alumni who are present some parting thoughts, advice on their careers, whether they're related to technology or not, and any parting thoughts on you wish to share. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I would say, in a time where, you know, again, a lot of times I see people now are starting to look at, is a degree worth it? Should I just go and, you know, start to learn coding or start to, you know, do something online? I would tell you this, that the values of the degree and what I've gotten from Pepperdine is a lot of the relationships out of it. My career has been incredibly blessed. Yes, I've been technology, right? I don't have a technology background. So that people skills, the ability to believe in yourself, don't let the barriers get in your way, and constantly have a desire to learn, right? Because everything we do in life grows and changes. Change should not be something we're scared of, because every single day we're advancing faster and faster on things. Sometimes we're forced with change, like a pandemic that we would have never expected, right? We're resilient, but again, that also helps us to become much more, be able to adapt to what's happening in the world around us. I would just say, you know, it has been an incredibly blessed career I've had. And I haven't waited for opportunities to come to me. I definitely go after things and create things and see opportunities a little different. I'm not waiting for things to be dropped on my lap. And I think that's something to just keep in mind as you progress forward. And I would say that, you know, whether you're in technology or not, at least having a baseline understanding of technology and how to use it, partnered with really looking at some of those human skills, will absolutely go a long way.
Wonderful, Denise. As I suspected, 1 hour is not enough, but we have to respect people's time. It's 2:29. I do think we accomplished a lot in terms of learning from you. So I thank you very much for your time and appreciate it. And yeah, I think the thank yous are coming in.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a true pleasure. And again, I do look forward to hopefully seeing most of you guys in person at some point.
Great.
Wishing everybody the best. Thank you.
All right.